to him, quote, "Job well done, Mr. President," unquote. Among other reasons, is anything done here? Let's bring in CNN analyst Barak Ravid. He's a global affairs correspondent for Axios. Barak, what are you learning from your sources in the White House about the status of peace talks right now?
Well, first, there are no peace talks right now. And at the moment, the Iranians still refuse to come to the table. One source I spoke to today, a source who spoke to the Iranians, not a U.S. official, but a source who spoke to the Iranians, summed it up to me in one line. The Iranians are going crazy about the blockade. And that's their main demand, that the blockade will be lifted for them to come to the table. The problem is that when Trump and his team, when they hear how painful the blockade is for the Iranians, they understand that that's actually their winning card, that's the leverage that they have right now. And this is why they want to use this blockade to get the Iranians to sign the deal. I'm not sure. So now the question is whether they could really take the blockade and turn it into an asset in the negotiation and not get stuck with it as a liability that prevents them from getting to the negotiating table.
And meanwhile, Iran continues to lock down the Strait of Hormuz. They seized 2 cargo ships in the Strait. A top Iranian negotiator says, quote, "Trump's ceasefire extension means nothing," unquote. Is using that as a tool to bring them back to the table, the ceasefire extension. Is that going to work?
Well, I think for the Iranians, the problem, by the way, is not that the Iranians are not allowing ships to go through the Strait of Hormuz. The problem is much bigger because the Iranians are now attacking ships. And they said that that's what they're going to do once the ceasefire expires. That happened yesterday. And this is what they did. They started attacking ships in the Strait of Hormuz. I think they're going to continue doing that. And right now, we have the situation where everything is connected to what's going on in the Strait. On the one hand, what the Iranian attacks on commercial shipping. On the other hand, the U.S. blockade. That, by the way, the blockade is at the moment much wider already than only in the Strait of Hormuz or only in Iranian ports. The U.S. is going after Iranian commercial ships, Iranian tankers all over the world.
Yeah.
This is the strategy right now, as I understand it. So, and I think this is what we're going to see in the next days and weeks, and especially once another aircraft carrier strike group will be in the region in a few days, the USS Bush. The U.S. is going to go after Iranian ships everywhere around the world to try and make it even more painful for the regime, hoping that this is what will get the regime to crack and say, all right, we're coming to the negotiation.
How much do you sense that the Iranians think that President Trump is more eager to end this war than they are? Because if I were just watching objectively, I might think, boy, President Trump really seems eager to end this war. It's obviously politically not very popular. He has lots of criticism coming from MAGA commentators. Just the extension even of this deadline, I think to an objective observer would suggest he really doesn't want to start bombing again.
I think that's exactly how the Iranians see it, especially that one of Trump's main cards or the main points of leverage was the credible military threat. The Iranians knew that there's a threat above them of him launching a massive strike against their infrastructure facilities, against their power plants, against their oil facilities. I'm not saying they were not ready to take the hit. They were. But again, this was a point of leverage. By extending the ceasefire indefinitely, Trump gave up on a point of leverage. He still has the blockade. I think that Trump thinks the blockade is more effective. I don't know if that's true or not. We'll discover that in the coming days. But the U.S. gave up on the credible military threat. It doesn't exist anymore, at least at the moment. It can come back to to the table. But at the moment, we all know that Trump got to the point that he was about to strike, and he didn't. He extended the ceasefire unilaterally, which I think the Iranians see it as a sign that he wants a deal and he doesn't want to resume the war.
Barak Ravid, thanks so much. Appreciate it.